It's F1 Manager 23 here in Brazil, where we could leave as
Our F1
constructors
season brings us to
champions.
Brazil for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache has been a staple of the racing calendar for decades, and soon we'll once again be watching the best drivers in the world give it their all. Interlagos Sector 2 is a maze of twists and turns, demanding the highest downforce. Sectors 1 and 3 are high speed, however, giving drivers plenty to keep them busy around this thrilling track.
It's not a usual F1 weekend though, with qualifying brought forward to make way for an all-out sprint race which will decide the grid for the Grand Prix.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Formula One.
Into FP1, the only practice session before qualifying. 9th and 14th ahead of Verstappen, but practice doesn't mean anything. Kevin Magnussen, Ocon and Hulkenberg with good penalties. 56 and 67% confidence heading in
Welcome
to qualifying.
Let's find out who's got what it takes as we establish the grid for the sprint.
Just like normal qualifying, the session this weekend will be divided into Q1, Q2 and Q3, with the best times determining the grid for the sprint.
And in terms of the driver we've got here, Nick de Vries, how do you think he's feeling at this moment?
Looking at the lap times, we saw a real lack of pace from them in practice. They never looked quite comfortable with the setup, and they'll need to try something new for qualifying if they want to get past Q1.
But don't go anywhere, folks. It's nearly time for qualifying.
Heading into Q1 then here at Brazil. 1.5 minutes to go, done a lap on the intermediate tyre of compound 4, just to gain driver's confidence, because that seems to be the meta here on F1 Manager 23. I will be streaming in about an hour's time if you're watching this live on Mega Gamer 8888 on Twitch, where we play F1 Manager 24 Creator Team Career Mode for the first time. Anyway, getting back into this is purple, green for George, green for Lewis, green something. George gets blocked slightly there, green. George goes P2 with 10th and a half off. And as we continue forward, Lewis goes P4, which leaves Perez P10 right on the cusp. Verstappen, where's Verstappen? P8. So both Red Bulls on the cusp. But they're following each other, so no doubt Perez has gained a massive slipstream. And they probably haven't got any traffic on that lap, so they're probably rapid as well. Perez down in 12th, but he will be through. Gasly goes P5, wow. So Ricardo, Hulkenberg, De Vries, Magnussen and Albon all out.
Such an awesome job, mate.
In this qualifying session. Perez and Max only 9th and 13th. Red Bull's downfall continues as we head into Q2. We had an inter start to the session, and we're now on a dry bit of the session. As it's just gone dry, Lewis is getting a slipstream off George, because that's going to be the meta for the rest of the season, just because Lewis is in the championship fight. George is not. Lewis purple in sector 1, George green in sector 1. Coming down towards the end of the second sector, Hamilton green in sector 2, same as George. They're going to come across the line, because obviously they won't be slower than dry time. George P3, Lewis P4. 8 thousandths between them. That should be us two through. And Verstappen needs a lap here. He's currently at... Verstappen is out in Q2 with Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly. That is huge news for the championship. Verstappen falls at the second hurdle in qualifying. Heading into qualifying 3 with an intermediate start to the session. Going to try and get 2 runs here, even if it's dry, just to build drivers' confidence and to get them used to these conditions if we see them further on into the weekend, which we may do in FP2 or even FP, well no, in the sprint on the race, because there's no FP3. And FP2 is literally just hard tyre running for 40 laps just to get them to build driver confidence. Lewis purple, George green. I don't think anyone's beaten that. Lewis purple again, George green. George going to come up towards the line first. He's going to be the first car across the line. 4 tenths quicker than Piastri. Lewis 2 tenths quicker than George. As they're going to start another flying lap on the enters. Down into turn 1. Decent start. Water has gone up though, so I don't expect him to improve on anything this lap. Yellow. Yeah, that's the end of their lap realistically. They're not going to improve much beyond that. So we're going to fast forward. No improvements. P2, P3, that's the end of the session. Annoying to not get pole, but it is what it is with Verstappen down in P12. Yeah, P12. Oh no, P13. Yeah, as we head into practice 2, 19th and 20th was literally just doing hard tyre laps for like 30 laps, 40 laps, just to get driver confidence, which they're 87 and 88% confidence heading into the sprint.
This weekend, it's something a little bit different, as the Grand Prix grid is decided by more racing in today's eagerly anticipated sprint. And after a season of sprints, this is the last one of the year. This circuit is certainly no stranger to overtakes, so I think we're in for a good one.
Of course, when it comes to a sprint, it's not just about setting the grid for the Grand Prix. The drivers will be fighting hard to gain valuable championship points.
Well, no doubt there'll be plenty of action today here at the Sao Paulo Sprint. "24 laps around Interlagos awaits these drivers in what should be an entertaining sprint.
The 100-kilometer dash around Sao Paulo is typically packed full of overtaking opportunities, making for a thrilling event as the season nears the end.
So then, it's time to see who wants that victory the most. 24 laps around Sao Paulo in today's sprint. And it's lights out, and away we go!
Indeed, it is lights out and away we go for the sprint race. Starting off, Lewis and George fighting. George is going to get the better of the two. Or is he as they head down to Skeena de Largo? Into turn 4, Lewis and Max have played shove and push this past year. George up to P2 on lap 3 because DRS is enabled on lap 2. George is up to P1. Need to monitor tyre wear though, because that could become a bit desperate. As Lewis tries to get in Carlos but can't do so. As we've had multiple cars crash. And George going to get back past Carlos on lap 5. And Carlos goes back past George on lap 9. They're fighting, they're changing, they're interlocking. Carlos goes through. George goes through on lap 11. Bottas, I didn't see that at the time. Bottas came into the pits in a sprint race. Must have had a collision or something then. As Lewis now starts fighting Charles Leclerc, trying to make sure he stays on the DRS, which he has done onto this lap. George and Carlos fighting on lap 13. Carlos stays in front. George gets ahead with 10 laps to go on lap 14. Oh no, this would be lap 15. And it stays like that until lap 23 or 24 where George gets science.
As we look to
and Max Verstappen goes wide, and he's had a very good sprint up into P7 from P13, so he's made 6 places. And he's going to get 2 points to Lewis's 6, which means Lewis is only going to gain 4. But if that was the real race, Lewis would have 16 points because he's got fastest lap, and Max would have 7, so he'd gain 10. Which would put him basically, well, I think even this is going to put Lewis in the championship lead. But this will basically, hopefully, secure us the championship as George just misses out on the win. Lewis P3, Max is going to finish P7. But that is a very successful sprint race in Sao Paulo. P2 and P3. Onwards and upwards, hopefully to a Grand Prix win on race day.
Thank you so much for continuing to push.
Great drive today, mate.
And after today's sprint, it's a finish in the points for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, this was a really clever bit of strategy, and it's great to see that pay off.
Well, there's nothing quite like it. Welcome along to race day.
Brazil loves a home racer, and none more so than the brilliant Ayrton Senna. His victory here at Interlagos in 1991, fighting a broken gearbox, is one of the most emotional moments in F1 history.
Lewis there, getting himself ready for today's race. Karun, how's he going to be feeling at the moment, do you think?
To be honest, I think they're exceeding expectations and impressing a lot of people with their performances.
As ever though, the teams will be paying close attention to their strategies heading into the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We're not too far away from the race start here as we edge closer to the 71 laps of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And here's George Russell, focusing on the race ahead of him.
They're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds after lights out.
This should certainly be a good one, folks. And now, it's time for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away.
And away we go. George is going to be on a medium, hard, medium for today's race. Lewis is going to be on a medium, medium, hard, hopefully, when Lewis pits early, as we've got a red flag already. Okay. Yeah, if Lewis pits early, then that means he can get an undercut. I'm going to assume because, yeah, I'm going to do the same strategy, just because how early on in the race this red flag is.
Not for the first time today, the drivers are lined up, awaiting the lights. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And for the second time today, Crofty is not getting paid overtime for saying it's lights out and away we go twice. Down and towards turn 4. Somebody, I think that was Albon, got a 5-second penalty. Here you can see it next to his name. George gets into the lead briefly. And now we have so much fuel, it's unbelievable. George stays in the lead, Carlos gets in back, George with the fastest lap though at the moment. And Hamilton gets past Russell, which I never saw. And Hamilton then gets past Sainz into P1. Hamilton then gets past Sainz into P1 again on lap 12. And then Hamilton does the same thing on lap 21. I'm assuming I was just watching George when Carlos went past. Because George seemed to need a bit more help just to stay there. 3-second pit stop for Lewis. Decent enough. Should come out by Ricciardo, by Piastri-ish. I'm hoping to come out in front of Ricciardo as Max Verstappen sets the fastest lap. And he was the first top runner to trigger the stops. As George Russell comes in 1 lap later for his set of hards, Lewis is on a set of mediums. It's a fairly decent stop, 3.2. Sonoda and Ocon coming as well. He should be out, hopefully in front of Ricciardo, definitely in front of Verstappen, and that's what I've tried covering them off with, because Verstappen did pit early. We've kept to our normal strategy and tried to hold off Verstappen, because we cannot make either car lose a place to Verstappen, because that would change the complexity of this race, as Lewis goes by Oscar Piastri down at the top of the racetrack at turn 1 as George Russell was coming up the pit lane. And then Lewis goes past Kevin Magnussen and Carlos Sainz as he's in the pit lane. Charles Leclerc comes out behind Russell and Sainz splits the two marks. And then Hamilton gets Sainz on lap 35 and Russell is being hunted down by Verstappen as George now goes past into the lead. Verstappen going around the outside of Leclerc, can't do anything though. Oh no, Verstappen gets overtaken by Leclerc, sorry. As Lewis has entered his pit window for the hard tyres and George gone down the inside of Leclerc again. Leclerc takes the place. George going down the inside of Leclerc down at turn 4. He's done it, he's got the place. The yellow flag for something. There's not going to be a VSC or virtual or safety car as Lewis comes into pits on lap 43 for a set of the hard compound tyres, and it's a 3.0 solid stop again. Not great though, as Verstappen comes in on the same lap for another set of mediums compared to Lewis's hard. So Max is on a soft medium, Lewis is on a medium hard, so it's just opposite in quite a few stints. George is now still fighting Leclerc as Carlos is 9 seconds up the road. Verstappen sets fastest lap. Verstappen then drives through Stroll, then goes around the outside of Gasly, but he shouldn't get close to Hamilton even despite how quick he is, and he goes wide, but he's 12 seconds off Lewis, so he shouldn't get ahead of him as George is fighting. And Yuki Tsunoda and Fernando Alonso, the two drivers that made contact last race. Alonso causes a collision again between those two. Alonso is Williams' biggest problem at the moment. And so yeah, that was that. Lewis now comes down inside of Perez as Perez was probably trying to back him up into Max. But it's not going to work. Lewis gets passed up into P4. Alonso gets a 5-second time penalty for a collision caused. George is going to pit next lap for his set of the medium compound tyres. Sainz comes in 20 laps to go for a set of soft tyres, which is interesting. By the way, if you want to follow me on Twitch, Mega Gamer 8888, and I'll be live in Fairform Manager in about an hour and 7 minutes. And George has come in. He will be P5. His job is to hunt down Verstappen and Leclerc, especially Leclerc. Hopefully more Verstappen, but I wouldn't be complaining if he got on in the top 4, hopefully a podium though. Gasly fastest lap on lap 53. 15 laps to go. Leclerc goes past Russell. He's on the soft compound tyres. Russell is now fighting Verstappen as he got past Leclerc, dropped him, now started fighting Verstappen because of how hard he was pushing. Ricciardo gets a 5-second time penalty. Lewis has lost the place to Carlos and lost DRS, and George has dumped the people behind him. Lewis then gets past Carlos after pushing and getting back in his DRS. Look how many penalties there are on the left side, by the way. As with 3 laps to go, Lewis and Carlos fighting. George is only 4 seconds behind this, and he dropped Leclerc by another 7 seconds. Lewis and Carlos fighting into turn 1, into turn 2, using DRS. Gets past Carlos Sainz on the soft compound tyre. It's time to attack, it's time to push up towards the line for the race win. P1 and P3. George just a second back, just like in Austin. It was close, but no cigar for George. 2 out of the last 3. No, 3 out of the last. All of the last 3 Grand Prix weekends, because we have to prioritise Lewis. But George did get a different strategy. I didn't know if it was going to be better or worse than Lewis's. Normally, the harder better.
To have won this year's Constructors' Championship.
And what a truly dominant display we've seen this season. I don't think it was ever in doubt.
And Lewis Hamilton takes to the podium once more, adding yet another trophy to his legacy.
And that's excellent, seeing both the team's drivers up there on the podium together.
And that means, here in Sao Paulo, it's party time. And as proceedings start to wind down here, what will Mercedes have made of this result, Karun?
I doubt they could be much happier. A win and a podium place. What a great way to round out the weekend.
And from our team in Sao Paulo, A big thank you for joining us this weekend.
The next round of the season will see Formula One return to the States as the glitz and the glamour of Las Vegas awaits.
Completely forgot about the championship, and we've won the Constructors. What a season. Never would have thought that after the first 5 rounds. Lewis now takes the lead of the drivers as well. And like I was saying, the hards are normally better than the mediums when you push them, as we now do a research on the side pods. I'm going to use half the ATR time we have, and we're going to do another one as well on suspension. Yeah, hards are normally better than the mediums because you can push them, and when you push the hards on aggressive mode, they'll stay under the heat temps, whereas mediums don't, they stay above it. So I thought George was going to be quicker in the second stint and then be rapid in the final stint on the mediums because he would have had fresher, softer tyres than everyone else. But that wasn't the case. He got further than if he had gone soft, that's for sure. So it was still a good strategy, but just not as good as Lewis's one. And mainly because of the undercut and the way the track was grouped. But anyway, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Join me on Twitch, Mega Gamer 8888. Bye bye.